Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel where we talk about everything grad life, grad advice, and research. And in today's video, we're going to discuss what is a teaching assistantship and how to become a TA specifically at a university. So if you're a graduate student or you're thinking about grad school and you want to learn more about graduate student jobs, then this video is for you. So while a lot of us might have had some experience with teaching assistants or teaching aides through our own academic career and experiences, being a teaching assistant at a university is a little bit different. So what exactly is a teaching assistantship at a university? Well, it's a job. It's a job that graduate students are able to get and become student employees. And with this job comes a lot of benefits, but also responsibilities. So generally what your responsibilities are as a teaching assistant is basically teaching a course. Now, depending on the structure of your class or how big the course is, you may be responsible for your own independent sections, or you're just helping out the faculty with their own class. You are there as a support person to the faculty or to the course in which you are assigned. So while you're not the professor and you're not making your own syllabus and deciding the course topic, you are generally responsible for grading, holding office hours and meeting with students, helping students better understand the material, and sometimes, depending on the size of the course or the amount of students that you'll have, you could be in charge of your own independent sections where you will be responsible for holding your own mini lectures or workshops or things of that nature to help the students understand the content or course materials just a little bit better. Regardless, a lot of what you'll be doing is grading, meeting with students, holding office hours, and also sometimes teaching portions or entire sections of the course. TAs also kind of hold this position where they serve as the liaison between the faculty or the professor that is running the entire course and the students to make sure that there's good communication, but also that there's support and conversation both ways. And in this way, that can help students better understand the content or get the support that they need, but also helps the professor to tailor their course to meet the needs of their students. Now, in addition to all these responsibilities of basically being a supporter of a course and how it runs, a TA-ship also comes with some benefits. One of the most important parts about being a graduate student is that you have all these expenses and maybe not the ability to go and work or get funds any type of way. And so what universities do is they create graduate student positions or academic student employee positions to help students offset a lot of their costs. And so a teaching assistant is a good job for a graduate student because it helps students pay off tuition, be it partially or the entire tuition cost. And that is a giant financial burden that is lifted off of a graduate student's back once they get a student employee position at a university. Now, this doesn't always account for out-of-state tuition or international student tuition, and that is something to be really aware of. But regardless, even if it only pays a portion of your tuition, it can be a major help to offset some of those costs. Teaching assistants also get an additional salary or stipend on top of the tuition remission. And this is really important for students to help pay their rent or just their daily needs or kind of academic requirement. It also often, but not always, covers some student fees. So thinking about healthcare is usually covered, but also just random activity fees or printing fees or things to that nature. So in that way, the pay is pretty good. Now, of course, the salary isn't a lot of money, and it's not like you can become rich off of being a student worker at a university, but these funds definitely can help you pay your way through graduate school. Often teaching assistantships, or really just graduate student jobs more generally, also present different levels of pay depending on your research, the level of education and experience that you have. So as you gain more research experience, more education experience, and more teaching experience, you are most likely going to be qualified for higher salaries. And that's just something else to consider if you're going into grad school with a master's already, or if you already have a significant amount of teaching experience, you may be able to qualify for different levels of pay once you get into a position. Okay, now that we've talked about what is a TA-ship and kind of what are some of the basic benefits that come from being a TA, we should probably discuss how do you become a TA or how to get a TA-ship when you become a graduate student. And generally, there's about 3 ways that you're able to do it. The first and most common way is that you kind of apply through a TA marketplace or through a listserv of some sort. So this would require you reaching out to maybe your graduate advisors, your chair, or even the career center and asking for the location that your university places all of the TA openings and how you can get access to it. And once you are on this listserv or know where to find this marketplace where all the TA-ships exist, then you kind of just apply like you would traditionally. And so depending on what your skills are, what your background is, and how many years of experience teaching or not teaching or doing research, then you can kind of deduce what is the likelihood of you getting certain TA-ships, which ones are you more qualified for, where would you want to go, what department you're in, and things to that nature. I will say just because you're in a particular department, you don't have to apply to a TA-ship just in your department. You can apply to any department or any discipline that your research or your background and expertise can help support. The next way a lot of people get a TA-ship, and I think this is the way that most people even know how or just assume it works before getting into an actual graduate program, is that it's kind of given to you by your department. So when you are applying to your graduate program, and once you are accepted, you will receive something called a funding package. And within that funding package, it'll describe how much money in grants or scholarships that you were able to get, if you've gotten any fellowships, and it will also include if they plan on paying you by or covering your costs with a teaching assistant or another graduate student position like a graduate student researcher. So in this funding package, you don't really actually have to do anything. You just accept it or deny it based off of what your actual financial needs are. Now this is great and the easiest way to get a TA-ship because your department is kind of doing all of the heavy lifting for you and you're able to come off right off the bat with a stable job and secured funding that you know will at least get you through your first year or what have you. But that's not always the case for everybody. Using myself as an example, I probably say it a lot and I will probably say it for the rest of this channel. I started graduate school with absolutely no funding. And so I got my funding package and it said $0, 0 fellowships, and 0 TA-ships. And I was coming from out of state and I was also coming straight from a master's program. And I wasn't able to save up money by getting a full-time position before applying to graduate school because I was transitioning straight from my master's program. And so I was really at a financial deficit because my department wasn't able to give me any funding or financial support off the bat. And I didn't have any financial funding or financial support that I could give to myself because I was one of those forever students. And so I didn't know how I was going to be able to pay for graduate school if I didn't make something happen. And I had to go and accidentally kind of made my own TA-ship because I knew I needed financial support and I had to find a job fast. Now, this isn't the most common way to get a TA-ship, and I actually don't think a lot of people know you can get a TA-ship in this way, but because I was so desperate, I was willing to try anything. And so I started reaching out to departments and kind of finagling my way into a TA-ship position, which ultimately turned out to work out perfectly for me because it led to me having a TA-ship for every quarter of my first year. And I was teaching courses that were directly related to my master's thesis. So it turned out to be very positive. So I would say the very last way to get a TA-ship is by reaching out to departments on your own. And this way is a little hit or miss, and you don't really know what you will be able to get from it. But for me, because I didn't have any funding and I was a little desperate, I was willing to do whatever it took to kind of finagle my way into a department to make sure that I had funding for my graduate school. So it's not the easiest, and it actually requires a ton of emails back and forth, submitting, resubmitting, getting declined, getting rejected, and then maybe eventually somebody saying, yeah, we'll take you on. But it can come in handy if you really need funding or if you're really interested in teaching a specific topic, then this type of method can definitely be helpful. And if you're interested in a video video that talks more about my process and how I was able to secure this TA-ship before even getting on campus and the strategies I employed to kind of finagle my way into this department, then definitely leave a comment down below so I can start preparing that video. Another cool thing about being a teaching assistant is that once you start teaching, you're kind of already in this process of people knowing who you are, and that's another way that you get a TA-ship. If people know who you are and what your research is and what your experiences are, sometimes departments may just reach out to you and say, hey, I know you taught this class, would you be willing to take this class as a job? And so through word of mouth or just networking, people are able to assign positions to you as well. Thinking about it, a teaching assistantship or academic student employment positions more generally are great ways for graduate students to gain networking and professionalization skills while paying off their school. Now that doesn't mean that they're all easy and hunky-dory and it's not a lot of work. A lot of the times, all graduate jobs at universities are a lot of work, but I think at the end of the day, they do give you valuable skills. And like I said, the tuition, the healthcare, the stipend, all kind of add up to a good chunk of money, even if you're not seeing all of it liquid in your hand. But of course, there are a ton of other things to consider when thinking about graduate student positions and jobs and funding your graduate education more broadly. So if you're interested in more grad advice, hearing about more grad life and everything research, don't forget to subscribe. And if you learned a little bit more about being a teaching assistant at a university, don't forget to hit the thumbs up so others know that this video has good quality content. And of course, if there are any questions that I didn't answer, or if you're interested in hearing more about graduate student jobs more broadly, leave a comment down below so I can start preparing. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next week.